They said it was impossible. The best doctors from around the world had tried. Surgeons flew in, experts studied, but nothing worked. A billionaire's only son was blind, trapped in darkness. Until one day, a poor maid entered his mansion. She carried no medical degree, no machines, only the little knowledge she learned from her late father, a village herbal doctor. And with that, she did what science could not. This is the story of the maid who gave back his sight. The bus jolted to a stop, and Amaka stepped out, clutching her small faded bag. Her clothes were simple, her sandals worn out, but her eyes carried hope. Her father, a village herbalist, had died just a year ago, leaving her with nothing but memories and a handful of his teachings. Now, in this bustling city, she whispered, "Father, guide me, please." She had one destination, the mansion of Chief Williams, a man whose wealth was spoken of like legend. When the tall iron gates opened, Amaka's jaw dropped. The mansion was like something out of a dream. White marble walls, shining cars lined up like jewels, and a fountain that sprayed water into the air like silver rain. A guard looked at her small bag and shook his head. "This house is not for people like you." But the head maid, Madame Rose, appeared and waved her in. "The chief is kind. If you work hard, you'll stay." Amaka's heart beat faster. She had entered a world she never thought she would step into. At first, everything seemed perfect. Maids running around, chefs preparing exotic dishes, gardeners trimming the flowers. But Amaka soon noticed a sadness hanging over the mansion. The chief's only son, Daniel, was blind. An accident years ago had taken his sight, and since then, the house had lost its joy. Doctors from around the world had tried. Nothing worked. Daniel lived in silence, locked away in darkness. One afternoon, Amaka carried a tray of juice to the garden. She saw him for the first time. Daniel sat under a tree, his face lifted to the sun, his eyes cloudy and distant. "Good afternoon, sir," Amaka said softly. He turned his head, listening to her voice. "You're new here, aren't you?" "Yes, sir. My name is Amaka." He smiled faintly. "I can't see you, but your voice that sounds warm." Amaka felt her heart twist. In the days that followed, Amaka found herself drawn to him. She described the flowers in the garden, read stories to him, even guided him around the mansion. Daniel laughed when she teased him. Sometimes, though, he grew quiet, whispering, "I wonder if I'll ever see the world again." Every time, Amaka's chest tightened. One night, in her small servant's room, she sat thinking of her late father. She remembered how he used to grind herbs, whispering, "Nature heals when science fails." Her heart pounded. Could she dare try? Could she use her father's knowledge to help Daniel? But fear gripped her. What if I fail? What if I hurt him? What if I lose my job? She lay awake until morning, torn between fear and hope. At last, she whispered, "If everyone has given up on him, maybe I am his last chance." The next evening, she sneaked into the garden. She plucked leaves, roots, and flowers, hiding them in her apron. In the kitchen, she pounded them carefully into a paste. Her hands trembled as she whispered her father's old prayers. "If this works, he will see again. If it fails, I am finished." That night, Amaka entered Daniel's room. He was listening to soft music. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice shaking, "there is something I want to try. It may not work, but will you trust me?" He tilted his head. "Trust you? Why?" "Because I believe I can help you see again." Daniel laughed sadly. "Amaka, the best doctors in the world have failed. Why do you think you can succeed?" She swallowed hard. "Because I have faith." He was silent for a long moment, then whispered, "Do it." Her hands trembled as she applied the herbal mixture to his eyes. Daniel flinched, groaning. "It burns." "Just a moment," she whispered desperately. "It will pass." Minutes dragged by. Amaka's heart pounded louder with each second. Nothing happened. She turned away, tears welling. Then suddenly, "Wait," Daniel's voice shook. I see something. A light. Just faint, but it's there." Amaka gasped. Her tears fell freely. She almost shouted, but quickly stopped herself. "No one could know yet." "Close your eyes," she whispered. "We'll continue tomorrow." For the first time in years, Daniel slept with a smile. Each night, she returned. Each time, Daniel's sight improved. From faint light to blurred shapes. From shadows to colors. One evening, he reached out and touched her face. "I can almost see you now, Amaka." Your outline, your smile. Her heart raced. On the fourth night, Amaka led him to the garden. Suddenly, Daniel stopped, gasping. Amaka, the sky. I can see it. The stars, they're shining. She fell to her knees, sobbing with joy. Thank you, Father, she whispered to the heavens. But soon, whispers began. Other maids noticed Daniel no longer used his cane. Something strange is happening, they murmured. Amaka's heart raced with fear. If they discover me before the right time. The truth broke out one morning. Daniel walked into the dining hall without his cane. Chief Williams stood up in shock, his cup shattering on the floor. Daniel, how are you walking like this? Daniel's voice was calm, steady. Because, Father, I can see. The room fell into stunned silence. The chief demanded an explanation. Daniel pointed to Amaka. It was her. She gave me back my eyes. Amaka trembled as everyone stared. Slowly, she knelt, tears streaming. I used herbs, my father's knowledge. Forgive me, sir. Doctors were flown in again. They tested Daniel over and over. Finally, one of them stepped back, shaking his head in disbelief. This is a miracle. His sight, it's perfect. Chief Williams broke down in tears, holding Amaka's hands. You are no longer a maid in this house, he declared. From today, you are family. You gave me back my son. Daniel's eyes shone with tears as he looked at Amaka. For the first time, he truly saw her. Her round face, the softness in her eyes, the trembling lips that had carried courage through nights of fear. Amaka, his voice broke. You gave me back my life. The first face I ever wanted to see is yours. Amaka froze, her heart racing. She dropped her gaze, whispering, I only did what I could. But Daniel took her hands gently, his eyes burning with emotion. No, Amaka, you gave me more than sight. You gave me hope when the world abandoned me. You stayed when everyone left. Her breath caught. Something deep inside her knew this moment was not ordinary. Days later, Chief Williams held a grand dinner in honor of Daniel's miracle. Important guests, business partners, even politicians attended. The house was filled with music, laughter, and the smell of expensive food. But Daniel's mind was not on the guests. It was on Amaka. As the evening grew quiet, Daniel stood, clearing his throat. All eyes turned to him. My family, my friends, he began. You all know my story. I lived in darkness, abandoned by hope, left with nothing but memories of light. The room grew still. But one person, he continued, his eyes searching for Amaka in the crowd, brought light back into my world. She is not rich. She is not famous. She came to this house as a maid. But to me, she is everything. Gasps filled the hall as he turned and knelt before Amaka. Her eyes widened. Daniel, what are you doing? She whispered, trembling. He pulled out a small box. Inside, a diamond ring sparkled under the chandelier. Amaka, his voice shook. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down her cheeks. The entire hall held its breath. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, Daniel. The crowd erupted in applause, but Amaka heard nothing. Only the sound of her own pounding heart. But just as joy filled the air, an icy voice cut through the room. Well, isn't this touching? Everyone turned. A tall, elegant woman walked in, her high heels clicking against the marble floor. Her hair shone like silk. Her dress was expensive, her smile sharp as a knife. It was Clarissa, Daniel's ex-girlfriend. She had once been by his side, but the moment he lost his sight, she vanished, leaving him in loneliness and despair. Now, with his sight restored and his father's wealth secure, she had returned. Clarissa walked straight to Daniel, ignoring the shocked whispers. My love, she said sweetly, I came back. I was scared before, but now, I am here to stay. Daniel stiffened. Clarissa, what are you doing here? She touched his arm boldly. I made a mistake, leaving you. But look at you now, you're whole again. We can continue from where we stopped. Her eyes darted at Amaka, full of contempt. This maid cannot take my place. Gasps filled the hall again. Amaka's hands shook. She lowered her head, tears threatening to fall. For a long, heavy silence, Daniel said nothing. The whole mansion waited. Clarissa smirked, certain he would choose her. After all, they had history. She was from a wealthy family. She was the perfect match. But Daniel turned, his eyes blazing. Clarissa, he said coldly, when I was blind, you left me. You didn't just leave. I begged you to stay, and you walked away. She froze. Daniel, don't. His voice cut like a knife. You abandoned me when I had nothing. And now you think you can come back because I can see again. He turned to Amaka, taking her trembling hands. This woman, his voice softened, stood by me when I was in darkness. She gave me back my eyes. She gave me back my life. And she is the only woman I will ever love. Clarissa's face twisted with anger. She stomped her heel, her voice rising. You're making a mistake. She's just a servant. She doesn't belong in your world. But Daniel only tightened his grip on Amaka's hands. She belongs in my heart. And that's all that matters. The hall erupted with cheers. Some clapped, others shouted in joy. Chief Williams himself rose, his voice loud. My son has spoken. Amaka is family now, and no one can change that. Clarissa's face burned with shame. Her pride shattered. With a furious cry, she stormed out of the mansion, her footsteps echoing like thunder. As the guests celebrated, Daniel pulled Amaka close. Tears still glistened in her eyes, but now they were tears of joy. Amaka, he whispered softly, you healed my eyes, but you also healed my heart. I was broken, but your love made me whole. She smiled through her tears. And you showed me that even a maid can be worthy of love. Daniel slipped the ring on her finger, his eyes shining brighter than the diamonds. In that moment, Amaka realized her life had changed forever. From a poor girl in a village to the heart of a billionaire's son. From the shadows of a servant's room to the light of true love. And as Daniel kissed her gently under the glowing chandeliers, the entire hall knew. This was not just a love story. This was destiny. Her story is proof that miracles don't always come from power or wealth. Sometimes they come from the most unexpected hands. So whenever life tells you something is impossible, remember Amaka, the maid who gave back his sight. If you were touched by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because more stories like this are waiting to inspire you.